If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever. I don't think that power carries quite as much with those bigger guys. It's a little bit of a step. It's a step up, you know, like that. There's very few guys that keep that power as they keep going up and up and up in weight.
A lot of people think it's funny, like, oh, you're gonna fight Canelo, like you're saying you're gonna beat Canelo, like you're out of your mind, you lost to Tommy Fury in a split decision, how are you gonna...
Jake Paul is expected to face Canelo Alvarez in May 2025, but Joe Rogan is doubtful the fight will materialize. Rogan argues that Canelo has a packed schedule and isn't likely to wait around for Jake Paul. He emphasizes that Canelo is a major draw in boxing, making him a lucrative opponent that many fighters pursue. Despite the speculation, Rogan remains skeptical, questioning whether the bout will actually take place given Canelo's many commitments.
It's very fucking dangerous. Very dangerous.
There's always somebody coming right behind you. And these guys who've been at the top so long, you're like, all right, let me get somebody that's on my level. Canelo, he's been in the game just as long as me, and all right, let's just do this for this paycheck and then move on.
I think when they get to a certain level and they realize they only have a few fights left, they want the big money fights. And Canelo is obviously the biggest money fight. Even though Boots Ennis is a great fighter, most people don't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
And with Canelo, everybody knows who Canelo is. If you get the Canelo fight, that's red panties night.
Joe Rogan believes Jake Paul is disliked primarily because he started as a YouTuber. According to Rogan, many people refuse to acknowledge Paul as a legitimate boxer. However, he argues that Paul has already proven himself by defeating multiple UFC champions.
Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul if he wasn't this YouTube guy. He was just a boxer. And you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever. Knock him out with one punch like that. You'd be like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real...
Rogan acknowledges Jake Paul's dedication and says he is a great boxer, despite the criticism he faces.
Do you think you could still throw down? Like if it had to happen? Like if Jake Paul called you out?
Well, he'd probably fuck me up.
Really?
He's a really good boxer. He's a good boxer.
What if it was kickboxing? He doesn't really know how to kickbox.
When I was a younger man and I had good knees, I could be kickboxing people, but I could barely get through a workout without being in pain now. There's a reality of knees. And
during a discussion, Joe Rogan and Post Malone both praised Canelo Alvarez as an absolute beast in the ring. They highlighted his dominance, skill, and power, recognizing him as one of the greatest boxers of this generation. They also noted his impressive career and willingness to take on the toughest challenges.
He's a beast.
He's a beast.
He's a beast.
Like I'm talking more about Jake. I want to see a UFC fight.
You want to see a UFC fight with Jake?
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to fight for the UFC.
Well, no,
he's
or
got a
MMA fight. MMA fight.
He'll
I'm
do
so
an
sorry.
MMA. He's got a contract with the PFL, which is another organization. They're throwing a lot of money around. They just signed Francis Ngannou, and Jake has a contract with them. So if he has an MMA fight, I think it has to be over there.
Many boxing professionals are doubtful that Jake Paul versus Canelo will happen, mainly because Canelo is focused on preparing for his fight against Terence Crawford in September. With his attention on facing another elite opponent, most experts believe he won't consider fighting Jake Paul anytime soon.
You said that you'd like to go up against Canelo Alvarez. What gives you the right to call out a 59-2 boxer, one of the greatest of all time, when you've not yet proven yourself?
I'm predicting what's going to happen 3 more years from now.
So I'm
going to get to his skill level and beat him. I have one of the greatest self-belief systems in the world, and I know what I'm capable of, and with this new team, I can give Canelo a serious for his money.
Would you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business wise like even worth it?
When I'm done with boxing, why not? Maybe I do it. I think it's
like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing, or they don't know anything about boxing, they want to watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he bring fans from other world, right? Yeah. That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
A boxing analyst believes Jake Paul wants to fight Canelo, but the Mexican superstar won't entertain the idea. According to Max, Canelo is not interested in turning boxing into entertainment and views Paul as more of a showman than a serious competitor, considering him unworthy of facing him in the ring.
Max?
Yeah.
Will we actually see this fight?
It's not impossible. He has 0% chance to beat Canelo Alvarez. This is the worst guy he could fight is Canelo Alvarez. The worst thing he can do.
No. Tell us why. I want your
because Canelo Alvarez is not playing games.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
Everything is muscle memory since he was a kid. He was a natural. He's fought every fighter there is. He's beaten light heavyweights, and he's a natural counterpuncher. You come to him, he just beats the hell out of you. There's no way in any universe Jake Paul could ever beat Canelo Alvarez. But I love the fact that he thinks he can. I love that about both Paul brothers. This is how it could happen, okay? How a fight could happen. He has to beat Tyron Woodley. That's not easy. Then he has to beat a striker in their prime, because Woodley's not in his prime anymore, right? Still an MMA guy, not a full-time boxer in his prime. Then he'd be 5-0. Then he needs to beat a striker who's his size and in his prime, but from MMA, so he still hasn't fought a boxer. He's 6-0. Then he needs to fight a pro boxer. Could be an inexperienced guy, but he's got to fight him. That's 7-0. Beat a more experienced pro boxer, 8-0. Beat a pro boxer his own size, 9-0. Beat a more experienced pro boxer his own size. He'd be 10-0, and now he's ready for an 8-round fight against a real fighter, right? Then you got to beat that guy. It takes a while to build up a world-class 10-round fighter, and he'll always be at a disadvantage against guys with amateur backgrounds because they have muscle memory. We saw it in UFC 264. Stephen A., remember the Hardy fight? Mm-hmm. So he's fighting a guy with muscle memory.
Jake Paul has consistently emphasized setting big goals for himself, believing that arranging high-profile fights helps push his limits. According to Paul, challenging Canelo puts pressure on him, which in turn aids his growth as a fighter. Despite the doubt from others, Paul is determined to achieve his dreams.
And then for your girlfriend Yuta to win Olympic gold.
Yeah, we just have all the belts.
That's insane.
In the world.
That's crazy.
And then we should just retire after that.
So look, are you happy with your performance in the fight? Are you happy with the way the night went down?
I wish he would have put up a better fight, so then I could have risen more and done more. And he was surviving.
He was.
So
Before you went out,
it's worked up. But I think that everybody just wants him to win, wanted Mike to win. But
dude, people really don't like us, Jake. People really want to see you get knocked out.
Yeah, what did I ever do to anyone?
Well, you climbed on top of the KTLA news van.
That's hilarious.
You wasted the government's money.
How?
Because the FBI had to raid your house.
They wasted their own money. They wasted their own money. Why would they do that? I didn't. And then nothing ever came from it. They didn't even know what they were.
Despite Jake Paul tweeting about the potential fight, many still doubt it will happen. Some label it impossible, while others dismiss it as a rumor. However, Adolado believes Canelo might actually accept the fight, suggesting that it could be an easy payday for him, which might tempt him to take the offer.
All right, let's do this. Canelo versus Crawford, confirmed. Not a rumor, not speculation, not he said, she said, or someone leaking the story, confirmed. And I guess the confirmation doesn't get much more rock solid than the Ring Magazine putting this story out first. Ring Magazine, obviously owned by Turkey. Turkey would have been the one to put this deal together, and Turkey would have had to given the green light for the Ring Magazine to even put that story out. That's as confirmation as you need it. That's it. The fight will happen in September. Touch wood, no injuries. Wow. Easily the biggest fight of 2025. I said a few days ago, Benavidez Morale was my most intriguing fight of 2025. Obviously that's now been put down to second place because this has been announced. Nothing can be announced to top this.
One of the biggest discussions surrounding the potential fight is its broadcasting platform. If Jake Paul versus Canelo happens on Netflix, it could ignite the internet, given the platform's massive global reach and the hype surrounding Paul. This event could break streaming records and bring boxing to an even broader audience.
Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul in May. That's what ESPN Boxea, ESPN in Spanish is reporting. ESPN in Spanish does 1,000,000 times better than ESPN in English when it comes to boxing. It's just factual. So I really trust their relationship in the boxing world versus the American counterpart, that it's always hit or miss. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they take sources, they don't source where they got it from. But ESPN in Spanish is saying it's very serious talks between Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul to fight in the USA in May. And it's going to be a joint promotion from Canelo Promotions, from MVP Promotions, and from PBC. I've heard about this fight about 5 months ago, that there was talks about it happening. I couldn't really run with it because it didn't look like that was the direction, but anything is possible. And Jake Paul did tease that he has a big announcement in January. So this may be the big announcement he was working on. But what do you guys think? Canelo and Jake Paul. Jake Paul's been in boxing 5 years. Canelo Alvarez has been in boxing since he was a kid. Been a professional since he's 15. He's fought the likes of Mayweather, Cotto, Danny Jacobs. So many off the top of my head. Pero Angulo. He fought Munguia, Berlanga, and Austin Trout, and so many legends on his resume. Shane Mosley, James Kirkland, and Canelo worked very hard to be at the position that he's in. A 4-division champion and undisputed at 68. And him and Jake Paul, marketing-wise, would be a massive, massive fans. Everyone knows Canelo is a rock star. Everyone knows Jake Paul is very popular. It's hard to top Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, but if there's one fight that could top it, this may be it. So it's going to be interesting. And Jake Paul, he shared the ring with Mike Tyson. And a lot of people want to see revenge. Even Canelo said that he would fight him in revenge for Mike Tyson. So this may be on Netflix again. And if it is, that was a movie.
David Benavidez has also shared his thoughts on the fight, suggesting that before retiring, Canelo should face him instead of Jake Paul. Benavidez argues that both he and Canelo hold multiple titles and are among the sport's greatest. He sees himself as a legitimate challenge for Canelo, unlike Jake Paul, who many view as someone focused on entertainment rather than real competition in boxing.
He does.
True. I think it will happen. Like I said, I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. I think now what I've showed is that, I'm a big enough name. David Morrell wasn't really that known, but we still sold out of 20,000, 20,000 people in the T-Mobile Arena. I'm sure the pay-per-views are pretty good. So I think I'm making my case, and this, I still have a lot of room to grow. So by the time Canelo, I don't know when Canelo's going to retire, but, by the time maybe in a couple years, this fight will probably be even bigger than it was when they first, when people were first talking about it. So I'll have more titles. Canelo probably have more titles, and it'll just make it for a bigger fight. Kind of like, Mayweather Pacquiao.
Yeah. In the last couple of years, did it ever get close enough to the point where you actually thought it was going to happen? Did it ever get to the goal line, so to speak?
I mean, I don't know about the paperwork that side, but I felt like it was really close happening because I did everything I was supposed to do to get the fight, and like I said, the people want the fight. So these whole past 2 years, I thought it was going to happen.